Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Kayo, and I am very happy today to present my work on sign language translation, which I performed for my bachelor's degree in math and computer science. So I'll begin by introducing the motivation behind my work. So communication holds a central position in our daily lives and social interactions, and yet deaf communities are often isolated from a predominant hearing society because of language barrier. And existing accommodations are only imperfect solutions, so lip reading is prone to errors. Closed captioning and text-based communication all rely on the deaf's fluency in spoken language. Sign language interpreters can be unaffordable or compromise individual privacy. And today, the deaf community face daily issues and miscommunication. So sign language processing is an important research area that could help to give more social currency to sign language. So recent advances in machine translation, I'm sure many of you use Google Translate, significantly improved comprehension across different spoken languages. So my work is motivated by the success of machine translation, coupled with the need for sign language translation tools to provide assistive technology that allows deaf people to communicate in their own language. Now I will provide some background about sign language research. So research about sign language in general is still very much in its infancy. In 1880, the Milan Conference banned sign language in deaf schools to teach speech therapy instead. And it was not until Stokey's work on American Sign Language in 1960 that sign language started gaining social recognition and research interest. But today, only 41 countries recognize sign language as an official language. Moreover, there's not one universal sign language, but 144 different sign languages that are recognized, where most of them are not mutually intelligible. So solving the challenge for one sign language does not mean it will solve the problem for all sign languages. And unlike spoken language, sign language is a multi-dimensional form of communication that relies on both manual and non-manual cues, which presents additional challenges for video processing. And despite common misconceptions, sign language is often not at all related to its spoken counterpart. And sign language developed independently with its own grammar and linguistic rules, which is why it poses an interesting challenge linguistically as well. However, while machine translation often requires lots of annotated data to train your model, there's few such data available due to the novelty of the research, the scarcity of sign language experts, and the lack of sign language documents in general. And one challenge in sign language translation is how to represent sign language in your machine learning model because it has no written form. Transcribing the full meaning of sign language into text is not straightforward because of its multimodality and nonlinearity. And current research addresses this issue through glossing, where we transcribe the meaning of each sign using spoken language. But glosses differ from translation as they merely indicate what each part in a sequence of signs means, but it does not form an appropriate sentence in the spoken language. So as you can see in this example, the ASL gloss we have here is still pretty hard to comprehend and far from English. So the model I propose is called the STMC transformer. So first we have the spatio-temporal multi-cue network, which analyzes the sign language video. And inside we have a spatial multi-cue module, which decomposes the video into different visual cues. So here we have the face, the hand, the full frame, and the pose. Then we have a temporal multi-cue module, which extracts the correlations within and between the cues. And these features are then analyzed here to produce the sign language glosses. Then we have a transformer model, which turns the glosses into spoken language. So this step involves finding the correct word order depending on the context, adding the right grammatical forms depending on the relationship between words, inferring missing words, and so on. So inside we have an encoder, which first extracts the meaning of the input glosses, and then the decoder, given the features that was extracted by the encoder, produces the translations we want. So I won't be able to cover the technical details of my approach today, but I just wanted to share an intuition on how the key mechanism in the transformer works, because I find it really cool. So self-attention became very successful in natural language processing because it tells the model what part of the input sentence it should pay attention to understand a given word in the sentence. So in this model, we cannot know what it means by looking at the word it alone. But by paying attention to the other words in the sentence, the model can predict that it refers to either the animal if it was too tired, or it refers to the street if it was too wide. Pretty neat. So here is an example of the input and output of my translation model. So I trained and tested my models on data which was extracted from a German weather forecast channel that has a sign language interpreter. So my model processes the interpreted video here to first predict the German sign language glosses and then the translation in German, as you can see here. So to summarize my contributions to the field, I demonstrated how transformer models are well suited for sign language translation, and this surpasses all previous works on the benchmark datasets. I also introduced a new model for sign language translation, the SDMC transformer, which also achieves the state of the art. And my paper provides very detailed hyperparameter recommendations to help future research in sign language translation. And I also experimented a lot with various techniques that has been used in spoken language processing to sign language for the first time. And finally, my work demonstrates that the current paradigm of using glosses in sign language translation is flawed. So my experiments showed that I achieved better results by translating the predicted glosses than ground truth glosses from annotations. And this is because there is an inevitable information loss when you go from sign language videos to glosses. So to make further improvements for this task, we need to rethink how we currently perform sign language translation. And you can find these results in more detail in my papers published in these two conferences. I think I'm almost out of time. So thank you so much for your attention. And please reach out to me in any of my social media here if you have any further questions or would just like to chat. And I'd be more than happy to connect.
Thank you very much, Kayo. We have one quick question while we have you. So why were you interested in sign language in the first place?
So I think sign language has it's very different from the language that we are used to. So it has very interesting grammatical phenomena that I can go on for days about. So I just really like tackling what I think is one of the biggest challenge. And it also obviously has many social impact. So sign language research is very in its infancy. So a lot of people can benefit from having research produced in this field.